urinary system and then reproductive system. But urinary system also, after that, we have acid-base balance, which is a little bit. Now we talk about our electrolytes, little nuggets about what to think of when you have electrolyte disturbances. But this urinary system, to me, is very, very important. Okay. So, look at how do you get rid of anything in your body? We know that you have your GI, right? But in your GI, so you ate, then you absorb whatever you absorb, it's in your blood, right? It ends up in your blood, maybe lymphatics first, but then it ends up in your blood eventually. Then whatever you did not absorb, that's what you get rid of through your GI, right? That's your GI. So the GI, you just get rid of whatever you did not absorb. Whatever you absorb, it cannot go back. You can poop out whatever you absorb in your body. It's in your blood. Okay, so what's in your blood from your GI maybe sometimes may even contain toxic substances or waste. Then in the meantime, so you absorb maybe nutrients, but there can be waste. There's also toxic substances. Like your medicine, drugs. When we're taking our medicine, it's supposed to help us get better, but remember, they have their breakdown products. You can't put it out. Okay? Then also your own cells. Your own cells. So this is your own cells. My own cells. You're producing waste also because you're alive. The most common waste we know is carbon dioxide. And of course, there's acid waste as a byproduct of metabolism. Your cells die, there's buildup of whatever is in the cell, the component of cell, right? There's buildup. You break this down because it died. So then there's buildup. Uric acid from ribonucleic acid, breakdown of waste products. You maybe have lactic acid, right? We know that carbon dioxide is a very common waste product. So carbon dioxide, how do you get rid of that one? Very easy. What did you say?
Exhale.
Yes, very good. So respiratory system, I can get rid of carbon dioxide. No problem. What about these other waste products? How about the drugs, right? The toxic substances. The only way to get rid of that is what?
Urination.
Yes, very good. Everything else is through your PP. See? Your urinary system. In other words, I only have really two routes for exit of whatever is in me. Respiration and kidneys. This one is just exit of whatever was not a part. It was never a part of you. Anything that's inside of you, exit through respiration, but the only substance that can exit that way is carbon dioxide. Everything else have to exit through your urinary system. That's why the renal system is so important for day-to-day homeostasis. And this is why, one more thing about the urinary system, okay? It's an it does what it's supposed to do automatically. That's its job. So, to do its job, it needs water, which means the more we have of these waste products, the more water we lose. That's why the more dehydrated some people can become because it's automatic. You can tell your kidneys, get rid of that, but only with just a little bit of water. You can't. It does it automatically. You understand? That's why I like there's a picture. Look at how do these waste products go to your kidneys through your blood, right? Through the blood. There was a nice picture. I think I have it right here. But anyway, you see, there's your. See, this is the blood. This is the aorta. Remember the heart, aorta. So this aorta is carrying some waste. So there's a nice picture on the internet that labeled this as dirty blood. See? The kidney is nothing but your jiffy lube. So as the dirty blood goes here, see? The dirt stays and it goes down here. That's dirt. I'm just labeling it as dirt. And then what returns to your blood, which is the renal vein, this is now clean blood, jiffy lube. You go for oil change, you leave the kidney, your jiffy lube, now washed and clean. See? And every time then you feel your pulse rate, that's exactly what's going on. So it constantly drips. Drip, each pulse rate drip, drip, drip. That's your jiffy lube. Each round, not every 2,000 miles, right? Every heartbeat. Drip, drip, drip. Because you're alive. You're constantly building waste products. You understand? Okay? So this, like I told you, remember, don't ever forget that village in Romania. Don't forget that. I always feel so sad every time that happens. It's because they didn't know. You see, that's why I required you to write a paper with by 240, and hopefully when you're done with your A&P, you realize that really everything you apply, everything you inhale, look at, everything you inhale lands in your blood, right? Once it enters your alveolus, it's in your blood. See, I apply anything, it just ends up in me. So remember that village in Romania where first, and it's a fairly recent event in the 80s. The mothers started dying, and then the children, and then all the whole village was wiped out. And when they did, of course, all of the whole world got interested, and they did autopsy, every single one, all of them. The kidneys were rock hard and just reduced to 1/3 the size. And they traced it to a typical herb that they just grew. And they used it, they like to drink tea. And it was toxic to the kidneys. And if the kidneys fail, there is no way. There's no way. Okay? So look at the functions of your kidney, your renal system. It regulates the composition of your blood. So getting rid of waste is a byproduct of what the kidney does. Does it make sense? Because it regulates, it gets rid of the waste. It's just like weeds. You're planting, weeding is just a byproduct of wanting to have a clean garden, a nice garden. That way you're also able to maintain osmolarity. It's very important for the excretion of wastes. Where did the waste come from? Your daily activities. We're going to look at the different kinds of waste. But this is very important for you guys to remember. I know you know this already. This is where we produce the hormone erythropoietin, which is the key for RBC formation. So the blood that goes to your kidneys, if the oxygen level is low, below normal, the kidneys respond by making this hormone, erythropoietin. Then it goes to your bone marrow so that the stem cell becomes erythrocyte. Okay? It's also, now we add to the picture of vitamin D activation. This is not calcitriol, sorry. It's calcitriol. So remember, if you remember, we said the sun converts cholesterol, so the sun converts cholesterol in your skin to vitamin D. But actually, that vitamin D is vitamin D2. Then it goes to your kidneys and it converts it to vitamin D3, calcitriol. And this is the active vitamin D. Okay? So if you have kidney problems, you can become anemic. I'm sure you know some people with kidney problems, very pale. You can also have bone problems, right? Vitamin D is important for absorption of calcium. Vitamin D is very important also for mood. Uh, the mood is just because people with vitamin D deficiency are prone to fibromyalgia, bone pains, muscle aches, and if you are constantly in pain, you become depressed. So that's why it's called VDDS, vitamin D, no, what is it? Vitamin D deficiency syndrome, VDDS. Diabetes is also linked with vitamin D deficiency. It's just one of those things that we take for granted, vitamin D. Okay? Okay. So the best, let's look at first these waste products. Look at what we eat. It says waste product of metabolism. Part of metabolism is what we just studied, right? Chapter 24. The metabolism, where we break down our sugar to get energy. If we use all of that, we break down the fat or the proteins. And we discussed the breakdown products, right? Look at, if we do carb metabolism, is this, how do you get rid of this?
Exhaling.
Exhale. No problem, right? As long as you have regular, normal respiratory system. This one, water, sweat, right? Or pee pee, but they're harmless. Not harmless. I- I- what I want to say is no problem. Very easy to get rid of them. Look at this one also. Fat metabolism, carbon dioxide, breathe it out. This one, no problem. Okay. This is the complex with protein. See, that's why people who have too much protein in their diet, they're the ones who are at risk for maybe developing kidney stones or just kidney problems. They overwork their kidneys because look at the breakdown products from proteins. This one no problem, this one no problem. This is the problem. And they have the potential for settling, what do you call that? Concentrating, being concentrated, and forming crystals. You're going to see crystals in your PP. It never failed. Every class, there's only a few. Just maybe I can count with my fingers how many students have a nice urinalysis sample. All of the students will have crystals. Some more, very nice crystals. But the fact that you have crystals, that means that you are at risk for maybe developing stones or overworking your kidneys. So be sure to always hydrate yourself. That's the culprit right there. Because we can't break it down to harmless this. So to get, but and yet if they stay, they can cause damage to our body systems. You gotta get rid of them. That's why you appreciate your GP lube. Okay? So let's look at our, this is another slide that shows you. Let's look at the organs of the urinary system. Here we are. There's your two kidneys. You have two ureters. Did you know, by the way, that uh, God loves us so much? We only actually need 1/3 of one kidney to survive, but it has to be healthy. It can't be rock hard, right? That's all. So we have 5, 6 extra. That's why I know you know some friends who have donated one kidney and they're still okay. Because you really physiologically, if you just pay attention to a healthy life, you just, that's all you need. So 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, 1 bladder, 1 urethra. What you need to know is the function of the urinary system, what we just discussed in the first slide: electrolyte balance, vitamin D production or activation, erythropoietin, all of that is carried out by your kidneys alone. The function of the urinary system is carried out by your kidneys. Here is where you form what you call urine. By the time that urine gets to the ureters, to the bladder, to the urethra, there's no more concentration of urine, no more getting rid of nothing. Formation of erythropoietin, that job is carried out by your kidneys alone. Don't forget that. The bladder cannot concentrate your urine. It cannot dilute your urine. All it does is store the urine. It's the kidney that does all of the functions that we just discussed. You understand? Okay? So, one word that you need to remember is retroperitoneum. The kidney, along with the ureter, is one of the organs that is located retroperitoneal. There's some organs, GI organs, that are also outside, meaning they're not protected by the normal coverings. The peritoneum, you remember the mesentery, all of those coverings. This one, so there's a sac that covers most of your GI organs. Just like the meninges, there's a sac that covers this. It's called peritoneum, membranes. But the kidney is not included in that covering, in that tent. It's outside. It's right here against the back wall. And this is why, because it's right there, and I want you to know that there is connective tissue that anchors it to the back wall, but that connective tissue is not very strong, that it can withstand any kind of trauma. And that's why you notice that with any contact sport, that's a foul, isn't it? If they attack, or what you call it, if they hit you in the back area, that's a foul. And you may end up even with blood in your urine because of its location. It's so easy to dislodge it. And when you dislodge it, it's called nephrotosis. Ptosis means always drooping. Like, I'm sure you've heard of ptosis of the eyelids. That's Horner syndrome. Some people with the eyelids like this closed, that's ptosis. So nephrotosis, the kidney droops. That can happen. So when it dislodges, it droops like that. And is there a consequence to that? Yes. Because look at, this is where urine is formed, right? And urine should drop like raindrops and land in your bladder. Because each heartbeat, I told you, each round trip from the heart, it's constantly forming urine. Can you imagine if this falls down, or if it drops and it causes a kink on the ureter? You can you predict the consequence? There's going to be trouble, right? There's going to be a buildup of urine here, which means you're going to have a backlog of the waste that you have to get rid of, which means you're going to suffer. Your cells are going to be exposed to all. You don't want trash. And during the holidays, they don't pick up the trash. And sometimes, for some people, it gets, what happens to the trash if they don't come and get it? It gets, yeah, and it gets stinky, doesn't it? That's the same thing here. It should always be, you have to get rid of it each round trip. Fortunately, in addition to connective tissue, you also have adipose. See? You have adipose everywhere. And I'm sure you appreciate that when you open up your cat. Here, when you look at the kidney of the cat, you will see that there's an adipose capsule that serves as a shock absorber. You can't help it. Sometimes maybe fall on your back, or someone will say, I haven't seen you in a long time, it's so good to see you, and they're tapping you strongly in the back. This one helps to absorb the shock. And also another function of fat is thermal insulator, right? It regulates the temperature. Okay? So let's cut open the kidney, and this is how it looks like. Okay? Okay. What I want you to, where's my kidney? This is what you need to know about the kidneys. This red and blue, what do you think is this one? This is blood vessel, of course. And it's not part of your kidneys. This is cardiovascular system. See? Blood vessel. So the red and blue, that's your cardiovascular system. The kidney is nothing but a series of tubes, like your pipes, like the sink. Just imagine the sink, okay? So the faucet right there is your blood, and the blood flows down the sink. And you have a strainer right there. So imagine that there's another tube going that way from the sink, another pipe going that way, and the pipe going out. So you see, the blood passes through that strainer, and then the waste is going down the pipes, going to the Puget Sound. But then the clean water goes this way. That's the same thing here. So remember, the red and blue is cardiovascular system. And then these tubes right here, that's your kidney. So the kidney is made up of nothing but millions, not millions, 1 million each kidney, series of tubes like this. So that's your pipes. There's your blood. Okay? Okay. So, and here is a nicer picture. See? Blood. There's kidneys. Okay? The kidney is the pipes. So we want to first look at the blood flow to the kidneys. Look at this one. So we trace it. There's your renal artery. So remember the heart, and then the aorta, descending artery, abdominal artery, then renal artery going to the kidneys. Then after the renal becomes segmental, then interlobar, then arcuate. Then, but I want you to concentrate on this three blood vessels here. Remember, the normal flow is what? From the heart, artery, right? And then capillary, right? And then vein, back to the heart, then artery, capillary, vein, back to the heart. It's the same thing here. Look at, there's my heart, then artery, renal artery, artery, glomerulus, that's the capillary, this one right here. And then, one thing unique about the kidneys. Do you remember the hepatic portal circulation, where you had the mesenteric vein, right? Then hepatic portal vein, capillaries, then hepatic portal vein. Instead of going directly to the heart, it breaks into hepatic capillaries, the sinusoids, and then inferior vena cava going back to the heart, right? Here, look at artery, capillary. You would think it would be vein, but it's another set of artery. But it's a small artery, so you say afferent arterioles. Do you want to do it? I'm not sure what. You just practice. I just press whatever you want to press. That's how I do it. Just press. And then figure out what you think. That good? Is Is this good for you guys? You can see it? Okay. So, again, instead of artery, capillary, vein, this is artery, capillary, artery. You see that? But it's the small one. We're getting to, this is the big artery, then it becomes small artery. So you call it arteriole. So from here, from here, where it branches into small artery, arteriole, we pick up this picture right here and show it up there. You see that? So artery, big artery, then it becomes small arteriole. Look at. And then we pick this up there. Then look at it becomes the afferent arteriole, then breaks into capillaries. The glomerulus is nothing but the capillaries. And then not vein, but another set of arterioles. So it's glomerulus flanked by two arteries, the afferent arteriole and the efferent arteriole. You see the picture so far, everybody? Very important for us to analyze and understand this anatomy. And look at the capillary. That's why it's called glomerulus. Glomerulus, they say, means a tuft like a yarn. And look at what the glomerulus meets. It meets the sink, which is the beginning of your kidney right here. See that yellow there? So trace the shape. There's my sink. See? You see that? And I'm just going to shortcut. Like this, shortcut. That becomes your pee. You see that? Okay, see? There's your afferent arteriole. There's my capillary called the glomerulus. It's right here. Branch into small. Then there's my... So in the glomerulus is where you filter out your substances, right? And then the efferent arteriole is where the unfiltered substances keep moving. Look at this picture right here. The efferent arteriole branches into another set of capillaries. This one right here, called vasa recta, that's another set of capillaries. So there are two. It's either vasa recta or peritubular capillaries. So there's two of them, two sets, depending on where they're located in your kidney. But anyway, there's always two sets. They're always surrounding the tubes. So let's look at this pipe, this kidney. Okay? Look at the kidney is made up of these tubules, and it looks like it has curves. Okay? And loop, it has a loop. So if you look at this one, the beginning of my kidney is this one right here, the sink, called a capsule. It's called the Bowman's capsule. It encapsulates the glomerulus. So there is your capsule, this one here. See, there's my glomerulus. And you see how the glomerulus is covered by those cells that make up this capsule, because it's supposed to enclose it. They just cut it so we can see it, but it's really enclosing it. And so whatever was in my afferent arteriole, when it passes through here, it should be filtered out. So where will it land? In the capsule. And look, as it passes, so let's pick up here. As it passes through these tubules, there will be substances that you didn't mean to throw away. You want to recover it. You want to bring it back and return it to your circulation. And that is why you have this second set of capillaries. Remember, capillaries are the only blood vessels that allow entry-exit. So here, and look at the loop. Look at how long the loop is, lots of convolutions. This gives you time to reabsorb whatever you didn't mean to throw out. Go enter your circulation because this is another set of capillaries. It's either called vasa recta or peritubular capillaries, meaning surrounding the tubules, right? And then that's the only time that it will become vein. See, interlobular vein, and then so there's the interlobular vein. We pick up, then go back, go back, go back, go back, go back to your heart. So what's returning to you is clean blood. Do you understand so far? This entire structure right here is what you call nephron. So the kidney is nothing but an organ that is made up of 1,000,000 nephrons each. Nephron. That's the basic functional unit of the kidney. This is where your cardiovascular system meets the tubules. I want to look at this afferent arteriole, efferent arteriole, glomerulus in particular first. So here's a nicer picture right here. Look at. Now they call it peritubular capillaries. So vasa recta, if it's all the way down here, but here it's peritubular, they're both the same. The function is the same. They need to reabsorb. We're going to use this picture again. There's my artery from the renal artery. Then branch into smaller, smaller, smaller. Look at, there's your afferent arteriole. Then glomerulus, which is your capillary, filter out substances. So the substances land in my tubules. And look at how long the trek is before it, look at all of that convolution before it lands in your PP. Because there's a lot of substances right here that you didn't mean to throw away. So this long trek right here is giving you time to reabsorb your substances back into your circulation, into the peritubular capillaries. And then return it, clean blood. I want you to look at this afferent arteriole and efferent arteriole. There is something very important for you to appreciate. Do you see a difference in size? Which one is bigger? Yes, very good. The afferent arteriole is bigger than the efferent arteriole. You see that? Okay? Is there an advantage to that one?
Mm-hmm.
Just like your lymph nodes, right? So look at you. There's a lot of blood going, but the exit is smaller, giving you really enough time to push out substances. Because, again, what did we say? Our waste products, do they have legs? They do not. It is pressure driven. So, do you agree? This difference in size, big versus small, is important in creating pressure gradient, right? Because pressure is the key that will push the substances out and enter my sink, my Bowman's capsule. You understand? So, and besides, look at, I know the pressure was generated by my heart, but by the time it branches to smaller, 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 you agree? The pressure is getting low, 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 low. The pressure here, in fact, is only about 10 millimeters mercury. This is enough pressure that you need. But you know that your pressure is not constant, right? So there will be times in the span of 24 hours, maybe you'll have low pressure sometimes, you have high pressure. Let's predict what will happen. Let's see. let's predict if your pressure is high. What do you think will happen? If the pressure is high, let's see, okay? It can be that you push it very quickly. There will not be enough time to filter out what you needed to filter out because you're pushing it very fast, right? Or if it's way too high, you can even damage your glomerulus, right? Because glomerulus is capillary, just one cell layer thick. So we cannot afford extremes of changes in blood in the pressure when you get there. It's called glomerular pressure. You want to maintain it at 10 millimeters mercury. In fact, this is the number. And because you're healthy, it's always like this. It's amazing how our kidneys are able to maintain this one. To the pressure readings up to as high as 180. Some books say 160. I've read somewhere up to 200 millimeters mercury. I don't know. Up to that high number, your kidney is able to auto-regulate. Isn't that amazing? It's able to keep that pressure at 10 millimeters mercury. There's something about these arterioles that's able to do that. Look at now, when your blood pressure is low, what will happen? If the blood pressure is low, it's possible that you will not be able to filter out anything, right? Because pressure is the key to push these substances out of the glomerulus. If you start or begin with low pressure, maybe you're not going to filter out. Maybe you won't be able to have pee-pee. Does it make sense? This is why when you have low blood pressure, don't they say, what is the urine output? If you start working there in the hospital, they always ask. If the pressure is down, they ask, what's the urine output? Is there urine? Because low pressure will affect. It may even prevent you from forming urine. And remember, urine is important because that's how you get rid of your trash. If you didn't get rid of your trash, it stays in you and it will be stinky and it will affect you. Do you understand? And do you agree that 24/7 we vacillate between high, low, right? Like if my daughter drives me nuts, I'm sure my pressure going up, or my husband even higher, right? Or sometimes when even at night your pressure is going down, and yet you wake up, you have to go to the bathroom. How did that happen? It auto-regulates. Let's look at how this auto-regulates. Okay? I want to look at this afferent arteriole, efferent arteriole. So, before we look at that word auto-regulation, let's look at this. Oh, let's do auto-regulation, the first part of auto-regulation. Look at this afferent arteriole. What is the key? The wall of arteries, remember, they have a smooth muscle wall. So arteries are able to vasoconstrict and dilate. So autoregulation is carried out by these two arterioles, the afferent and the efferent arterioles. Keep in mind that what you want is to maintain the pressure here at 10 millimeters mercury. So if the pressure is high, so the pressure going that way is high, 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 high. Which one do you think will auto-regulate? Oh no, my question is, how will the afferent arteriole auto-regulate if your blood pressure is high? Will it constrict or dilate? Constrict. If it's high, it has to constrict. No. No, that's a very good question. We're talking about here. So The blood pressure here has nothing to do with the blood pressure in your kidneys. See, we're thinking about blood pressure here. The blood pressure is high, it makes sense it should dilate to prevent resistance, right? But for your kidneys, just here, very good, very good. Here in the afferent arteriole, if we keep that pressure high, it's going to maybe burst your capillaries here, or it's going to prevent, it's just going to keep pushing. You didn't have enough time to filter out. So when you get to this part, don't think about the rest of the cardiovascular system. When you get to this part, this afferent arteriole autoregulates by constricting to prevent, to maintain the 10 millimeters mercury. You don't want to damage this one. Very good. Did you understand the question? Okay. We think separately. We don't think about the blood pressure here. We just think about how does this auto-regulate. Okay. Now, if the blood pressure is low, how will the afferent auto-regulate? It will dilate. Okay? How about the efferent? If the blood pressure is low, it will constrict. The key is you want to maintain 10 millimeters mercury here. One more way for all, that's what you call the myogenic mechanism. Another way that your kidney autoregulates is through the tubules themselves, these tubules. So if you look at this one right here, so this one, the tubule, by the way, very important for you to know, the muscle is only in your blood vessels. These tubules of your kidney has no muscle, it's just epithelium. It's just a plain epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium. In fact, some of them become simple squamous, covered by very, very thin connective tissue. But look, see, this is all the anatomy of every part, every section of the tubules of your kidney. Do you see smooth muscle? No. There's no muscle in the kidney, okay, in the tubules. It's just all epithelium. But how do they help in autoregulation if they cannot constrict or dilate? Look at this picture over here. This is a magnified view of this one. So here, this part, you remember the afferent, the glomerulus, the efferent, there's the Bowman's capsule. So they just magnified that one. And I'm going, oh, I can use this one. I can use this. Right. There's your blood vessel. There's the glomerulus. And there's your tubule. There's this part right here. There's no smooth muscle wall here. But these cells here, these cells in the ascending limb, so this is your glomerulus. This is the proximal convoluted tubule. It's convoluted. It's the first one. That's why you say proximal convoluted tubule. And then this is the loop. The loop has a descending limb and an ascending limb. And then this part right here, this is then the distal convoluted tubule that will then go to your collecting ducts to form your urine. So look at in the distal convoluted tubule, these cells that make up your kidney, these cells are called the macula densa cells. They are very sensitive to the levels of sodium that's present in your urine. Okay? So if the sodium level is high, in general, if the sodium level is high, that equates to losing so much sodium. So if you're losing so much sodium, that can be from that can lead to low blood pressure. So what will happen is they alert the cells right here. This is called the JG cells. So this is my afferent arteriole, there's my efferent arteriole. There's a group of smooth muscle cells in between the two of them. These are cells that communicate with the cells of this tubule, the descending limb. Sorry, the distal collecting tubule. Okay? And here, when the sodium chloride here is high, the salt concentration is high, if you're losing a lot of salt, that means you're losing it from your circulation. That usually means your blood pressure here is going to be down. And you cannot afford that, right? Because if the blood pressure is low, you won't be able to filter out. So the cells here, when they detect high salt here, they communicate. They tell these JG cells, oh, there's too much salt that we're losing. So then these JG cells respond. They respond by releasing what you call renin, which serves as an enzyme. It converts angiotensinogen, and I know we talked about this already, to angiotensin. And this conversion, remember, happens in the lungs. Remember, we talked about that. The ACE inhibitor, the angiotensin converting enzyme then, is actually this one, the renin. Okay? One more time. When our blood pressure is, of the two, high blood pressure or low blood pressure, they're both dangerous, but the one with the immediate dangerous consequence is this one, low blood pressure. Because there's a possibility that you will have zero urine during that round trip, which means when you return the blood back to the heart, it still carries that dirt. And you don't want that. So when your blood pressure is low, in general, the salt in your distal tubule will be high. And if there's high salt here, these cells here called macula densa cells, they detect that and then they talk. They report to the JG cells. The JG cells respond by secreting this renin, which serves as an enzyme to convert this one to this. Where is this angiotensinogen? It's always present in your blood. It's one of those proteins that's always in its inactive form. Then it gets converted to this one in your lungs. Okay? So what will this do? Angiotensin promote vasoconstriction, all that stuff. And also, it also promotes or enhances aldosterone release. You remember aldosterone released by your adrenal glands? And what does this do? Isn't this your salt retaining hormone? And that's how you recapture the salt that was here. One more time. This is what happens every time our blood pressure goes down. Oh, why did I do this? So when my BP goes down, I'm losing a lot of salt. As it's passing, so the salt, losing lots of salt. As that salt passes right here, in this distal convoluted tubule right here, the cells there, these cells that's right next to my blood vessel, is called macula densa. They start secreting this one, renin. No. They tell this one the JG cells. It's the JG cells that secrete this one, renin. And the renin serves to convert this angiotensinogen to angiotensin, which is a very powerful vasoconstrictor. Bring back the pressure to normal. Then, at the same time, it also activates or encourages the release of this one, aldosterone, by your adrenals, which is your salt retaining hormone. That's how you recapture the salt. Now we're going to talk about how we recapture. Any questions so far? The kidney is a little bit complicated, but not really. Do you have any questions so far? Let's look at what are the different pressures involved in uh, the filtration. So there are actually 3 steps in the formation of urine. Here. The kidney does its job, and what you end up is what you call urine. And there's 3 steps in the formation of urine. We're going to study this step 1 first, which is glomerular filtration. You filter out the substances from the glomerulus. Glomerular filtration. Then the next step is called reabsorb. You want to reabsorb what you didn't mean to throw out. Where are you reabsorbing them from? From the tubule. That's why you call it tubular reabsorption, back into the blood. And then the last step is you want to really get rid of the waste back into the tubule, tubular secretion. It's not until after these 3 steps can you properly call it urine. So, I want you to know a few terms or remember a few terms. I know you know this, right? Blood, once it lands here in the tubules, you now call it tubular fluid or filtrate because it was filtered out. It's not until the fluid gets into the collecting ducts, which becomes the pelvis. It's not until after you get to this part that you properly call it urine. Then there's another term. You want to reabsorb this. You don't reabsorb this directly into the blood. There's a space in between. This is called interstitial space. I know you know this term. Interstitial means in between. We need to know these terms to understand how we reabsorb the substances. Okay? So, now let's look at how this urine is formed, the pressures involved, the glomerular filtration. Break for 5 minutes. Then we do our glomerular